With M Night Shyamalan, there is always a twist. So today we are talking Knock at... That's Dave Bautista.
Are you sure about that?
What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about Knock at the Cabin, although this is a difficult one to talk about without any spoilers. So we're going to talk a little spoilers at the end, but don't worry, I'm going to warn you just in case you haven't seen it. So let's get into it. If you guys want to drop a thumbs up down below and let me know, do you want to see an M Night Shyamalan tier list? Because I kind of want to do one. While vacationing at a remote cabin, a young girl and her parents are taken hostage by four armed strangers who demand that the family make an unthinkable choice to avert the apocalypse. With limited access by the outside world, the family must decide what they believe before all is lost. This movie is rated R for violence and language and is directed by the man himself, M Night Shyamalan, who, as most people go, I believe his career has been up and down and really down, but then far up, and it's everywhere. I was not a big fan of his last movie in Old, but I was intrigued by the concept and the cast of Knock at the Cabin. This is based on prior source material that I have no knowledge of, so I don't know if this kept it close to the book, if it strayed away. Would love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. But like I said, the cast is great, right? Jonathan Groff, one of my favorites. Ben Aldridge, who gives a phenomenal performance in this movie. The emotion required from the family side of things. The individuals kind of trapped in this cabin. These four people they approach, starting with the daughter. They make friends with her, and then she realizes, okay, things are starting to get fishy, and don't worry, I'm not going to get into what the actual plot is. But that requires a lot of emotions from our two parents here. Jonathan Groff, like I said, is one of my favorites, so he does a great job, but Ben Aldridge may just be the one that steals the entire show. I would say he was my favorite if it weren't for Dave Bautista and what he's able to do, man. I love Dave Bautista, and I could see some people saying, well, the role is simplistic, it didn't require a lot from him as an actor. I say that because I saw that tweet last night. I disagree with that. I believe Dave Bautista had a lot to do. He had to not only be menacing, but empathetic. He's kind of the guy that is in charge of letting our family know what is going on. The question is, and the question posed in this film, do they believe them? And will they inevitably have the same mindset as those that approached this cabin in the first place? That's the question. The other question we have is, are they full of it? With M Night Shyamalan, you know there has to be something about this film, right? And I don't want to tell you one way or the other. We'll save that for the second half of the review. I will say there is a lot of intensity in this movie. Tense, edge-of-your-seat moments. I think the first 45 minutes, some of the best filmmaking I've seen all year in terms of camera movement, camera placement, building tension, allowing you to get into the mindset of characters, and just being scared for the lives of those that we care about. In this case, our main three protagonists, if you will. The little girl, I think that's a great way to allow you to get attached to the family. She's very sweet and kind-hearted. You can tell when she has conversations with those attacking the cabin. But the way that fear is displayed in this movie, oftentimes I get on M Night Shyamalan because there are moments in his movies where actors don't convey the proper emotion. That is not a problem in this film. I don't know if the cast just came together and worked out perfectly, but when you see a character that has to show that they are scared for their lives to the point to where they are quivering and the emotion is coming through beautifully, the actor nails it every single time in this movie. I keep looking at Ben Aldridge going, man, I know this character is afraid. That is showcased beautifully. That is a problem I have with every single one of M. Night's movies, at least over the last 5 to 10 years. But I didn't have that issue with this film. Anytime I need the proper emotion, the proper line delivery, everything about the performances is good. So we have that out of the way. M. Night, okay, you're already a step above what I got from a movie like Old. How does the story play out? How does the premise work? Well, one big issue I had with this film is the fact that they're telling the story like they're telling it. They're structuring it in a way that shows us the present, then the past, then the present some more, and then we get one scene of the past. And I understand why you do that, but with this film, with this premise, it would often either kind of take away from the moment that we are in. You could say that's a way to break it up. I completely understand that. But those flashbacks only gave us a few nuggets of information and didn't quite give us all I needed to warrant us getting those in the first place. And then I talked about how the first 45 minutes, some of the most intense filmmaking I've seen all year. Once you realize what is at play here and whether or not that remains the case, it started to take away from some of the tension. And there are scenes where people are filming things on their phones and they're showing this on a live newscast, and you see all this in the trailer. So literally everything I'm talking about is in the trailer. That looked a bit on the cheap side, but my main issue is how the movie ends, how it wraps up. Can't talk about it now, and that's why I'm struggling with this film. I had to sleep on it, thinking to myself, man, this is such a cool concept, and there are individual scenes in this movie that will go down as some of the best M Night Shyamalan produced scenes ever. I mean, out of all of his filmography, I loved them. I loved the escalation. I loved the tension built. But as an entire package, I just didn't feel what I needed to feel. It's a nice theatrical experience, to be honest with you. But that's why I'm conflicted, because I did feel something missing. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my score. Then I'll talk just a bit about that ending. Dave Bautista is turning into an on-screen force, filled with intense scenes and edge-of-your-seat moments. Knock at the Cabin provides some nice thrills. That being said, the storytelling is clunky and the ending falls short. I am still slightly positive on this movie, though, because there were a lot of great things. I'm going a 64%. I feel like I need to see it again. It is a movie I would watch again, but the clunkiness of it all, it just kind of gets in the way of me loving it, unfortunately. Let's talk a little bit about the ending of this film. And if you're at this point in the video and you haven't seen it, why? Why? So the trailer spells out this movie as Dave Bautista and his crew of 3 other people come into this cabin, say, the apocalypse is happening or is about to happen. We need you all to decide who you're going to kill out of you 3. We can't physically kill you. You have to do it yourselves. And every time you do not say yes to us, every time you say no, we're going to kill one of our members. But the question I had while watching is, okay, clearly something is happening. Are they full of it? Is this all just one big lie? It's M. Night Shyamalan. The twist of this movie is that there really is no twist. See, I was trying to throw you off earlier in the review. It really is, as they say, it is. Everything that is happening and they are saying is happening when you turn on that newscast, and that's what I was talking about with the kind of awkwardly shot home videos. I'm thinking to myself, okay, were they live streaming? How did the news footage get a hold of those videos? That's a question I had, which kind of brought things down just a little bit. But you get that answer fairly quickly, and yes, things are happening. Even as you see it playing out on the newscast, you realize that, okay, this might really be going down, but it isn't until they actually walk outside and see the sky going crazy, see the plane actually falling, you realize, oh my God, they were, and they say in the film, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which they tell you. That was kind of my issue with this movie, is they just tell you everything that is happening, and it is playing out like they are saying it is playing out, and nothing is left to your imagination. I mean, even halfway through the movie, they show you that newscast, and you're still wondering, as an audience member, you don't know until they walk outside at the main end. But it is what they said it was. There's no twist. There's no reveal. There's nothing left to your imagination. And even the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse thing, that's something I felt as if I figured it out as an audience member. I'm like, okay, all right, that's good. And then they just flat out tell you. And that conversation that Groff and Aldrich, they have at the end there where they're facing each other and they're just saying everything that you've hopefully figured out as an audience member. Oh my gosh, it's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We have to make this decision. All of these moments in our lives, they have built up to this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, this is a conversation that I have already figured out as a viewer. And even if some other viewers haven't figured it out at this point, that could be a conversation when the movie ends. Now, maybe some of the reviews wouldn't have been as good at that point, because you're going to have critics in there like, I would. And maybe I'm one of the lucky ones that figured out, oh, it's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. But they had the conversation, and they reveal that. One thing I at least appreciate about M. Night's filmography is he always has a twist. The twist this time was that there was really no twist. He sometimes leaves things up to the imagination and allows you to figure it out as an audience. But in this film, they just kind of reveal all that. They dump all of it to you, and as the movie ends, there are a lot of themes at play here, right? We have to make the sacrifice, and there's almost religious themes coming into play at the end. But then it happens, and the movie just kind of ends on a whimper, and there's nothing really left at play to allow you to think about it once it's over. When the movie ends, or at least when it ended for me, I had nothing left to chew on. There was nothing left to really think about because what happened is what they said would happen. It is what went down, and there is nothing left for you as an audience member to sit and go, wow, this happened in that theme, because everything's basically spelled out at the end. And really, everything was spelled out in the trailer. What they say is happening in the trailer happens in the movie verbatim, and I do wish M. Night would have taken another risk, and maybe he's at the point to where he's like, I don't want to throw another twist at you, because every time I do it, you don't appreciate it. And that may be the case for some of his movies, but with this one, it was a little too straightforward for me. And then when it's not straightforward, when they're integrating all of those flashback scenes, I'm sitting back going, you didn't really have to do that. So again, I had some issues with this film, but not everyone's going to feel the same way. Some people are going to love the way it wraps up, the direction they think it's going to go. I think that's going to allow some people to appreciate it more, but that's just my perspective. Those are my thoughts. Again, I enjoyed the experience, but I felt as if they could have done a lot more to allow us to chew on the movie once it was over. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of what I just said, what you think of the review as a whole. Did you enjoy Knock at the Cabin? I do think there are some really good things M. Night is doing. Can't wait to see his next project. I'll see you soon.